Hello and welcome to today's video. So I thought since the RG351M, the brand new handheld from Anbernic, is due at the end of 2021, I thought I'd do my sort of final thoughts on the RG351, in this case the 351M, which is like the metallized case version. And we'll have a little quick look through a few systems, showing a few games. This is actually an arcade game, the classic 1944, and just sort of go through my thoughts on what I thought of this handheld and how I've been using it since it's been out, which I guess has been probably about 8 or 9 months now. So we are ready for a new little handheld, aren't we? I know there's been various iterations of this one, but thankfully I always thought the metal ones, the M for metal, were the best made ones. They feel really, really nice in the hands. If a little cold, they take a bit of time to warm up. The plastic ones are a bit lighter, the regular RG351, and a little bit cheaper as well. So this is like the premium model, but I still absolutely love it, and have done pretty much since it's come out. Now, like a lot of the Anbernic devices, they do come with an installed memory card, either 32 or 64, and that's got some pre-loaded game ROMs on, so you can pretty much buy one of these, and it's good to go. As soon as you start it up, you've got some games to be playing, usually tens of thousands of basic games. But of course, if with a little bit of know-how, it doesn't take a genius to be able to figure out how to get games onto it through taking the memory card out, popping it into your computer, and popping your own specific game ROMs on it, and maybe deleting off some stuff that you don't want. Here's a quick look at the Atari 2600 playing Burt. But this hadn't been out long, maybe a month or two before the community had developed a brand new operating system called Arc OS. Apologies for the light glare there, it does get better a bit later. That's one thing about these systems, they are a nightmare to film because they've got such reflective screens. But yeah, so Arc OS came out, and I believe that's now had 4 updates. And once you've got it installed onto your memory card, you can actually just update it using the Wi-Fi installed on the RG351 very, very easily. So I'm running Arc OS, and it's certainly one of the better front ends that you can get. Now this is a PC Engine. This is Devil's Crush, which was a precursor to one of my favourite Mega Drive games, which was what was that called? Dragon's Fury. And the point of entry and to get your own games up and running on this, it really isn't difficult. And as I said, if you're at all worried about having having to take out a memory card and risk damaging it or putting it onto if you haven't got a computer, you may not want to tinker with it. So if that's the case, don't worry, because you can, as I said, you can buy these, and they're preloaded with, I think it's like 20 or 30,000 games. It's something ridiculous. So enough on all the different systems to at least get you started. And there's still more games than you could ever imagine ever playing. So certainly, because of its small form factor, this is the sort of handheld I like to have on me when I'm travelling. I've always got my phone. This is the SNES now, Arkanoid. I've always got my mobile phone on me, which is obviously got lots of emulators on. But sometimes you need that to be a phone, or you're using it for the maps or something like that, and you actually need like a dedicated handheld. Plus, sometimes my son, who travels with me, sometimes he likes to have a game on the go, as it were, and try some of these old games that he has no nostalgia at all for. But I say, oh yeah, try this one, it's brilliant, and I usually give him a few decent recommendations. So as a travel one, and you can get a very sort of cheap £2-3 case off eBay that'll fit this one, a soft case. Great battery life. So charges via USB-C, which was it's almost universal these days now, and it's what you would expect from something like this. And battery lasts for ages, even in standby with it switched off completely. The battery lasts for weeks and weeks, which is fantastic. So very much enjoy the battery life on this one. And don't forget, you can of course adjust the brightness and things like that. This is for the Game Boy Advance, a bit of a hidden gem actually. But I would call this a hidden gem. It's the Cars game. In fact, the Cars games for various systems are actually really good. So if you ever see them or get the chance to play them, give them a stab, because they're all right, you know. And I don't mind the Pixar movies either. So good stuff, this. But I'm very excited because this was a really great handheld, and I had the RG350 before it, but this was the first one that was able to at least have a stab at playing Dreamcast and PlayStation Portable games, which the RG350 most definitely could not do. However, it didn't really play the catalogue very well. There was slowdown, and even optimised, it was only the very most basic games were even possible on those systems on this little RG351. I'm hoping that the RG552 is going to switch all that. Now, this is an old classic handheld, the Game & Watches, which I used to collect years ago. I had literally all of them, all 59 boxed, and most of them again loose. But I got rid of them now, and I'm really delighted to play a few of my old favourites again in emulated form. And this is the first time I've ever played these games in an emulated form, except back in the day, in the 90s, they used to be able to play them on online, just on what was it called? Oh, I can't remember now. They're like little HTML games which you could just play on websites, and Flash, that's what I'm thinking of. They were little Flash versions of these games. Well, playing them now with the original game, literally that's exactly what they look like, recreated in front of you, is good fun. So I recommend the Game & Watches on here. Now, something like the Mega Drive or the anything Mega Drive related, or the Genesis if you're in the States, plays absolutely perfect, exactly what you would expect, to be honest. So I just zipped through this first level on sort of speedrun style, but it's for me the Mega Drive is it's about. This one and the Game Boy Advance are just perfect to play on this particular screen, because it takes the graphics to a smaller degree, so it makes them look really sharp. The Mega Drive nowadays, even if you play it on a large phone, the graphics aren't very smooth. They do sort of show their age, and the Game Boy Advance even more so. So I've got a Galaxy Fold phone now, and if anything, the Game Boy Advance games playing that on it's too big. It's got to the stage where the graphics don't look that great. Horses for courses, eh? But on here, this Mega Drive looks fantastic. Certainly one that I've managed to spend quite a bit of time on, and the emulators are great. They've all got save states on. You can just play a game for a few hours or a few levels and then come back to it, and your position is saved exactly. And that's exactly what you want with something like this. It's all about convenience. So for me, unlike, say, console gaming, these little handhelds are very much gaming on the go, and I use them in quick bursts and nothing else really. So I don't tend to get stuck into a 20-hour Game Boy Advance RPG. I'm just not going to do that on this. It's for quick hits. Speaking of which, here is a Dreamcast game, and one that plays pretty well. Soul Calibur, one of the better ones out there, and I do really admire the Dreamcast library. I really like it. I never owned one, but I played on it back in the day. I was living in New York for a short while on the day the Dreamcast was released, and my roommate and I, he went out and bought one on that launch day, and I remember getting the browser up and running on it. This is back in 1999. But I've always had a soft spot for it. It's a great little system, and one that I very much enjoy playing on my mobile phone more than anywhere else, because the graphics do lend itself to it. So if you fancy doing that, the emulator I recommend is Redream. It's just fantastic. So some Dreamcast play, but some of the ones you'd like to play, like Sonic Adventure for example, they are, sadly, there's lots of slowdown in them, so I wouldn't recommend those. But the more basic games, and this fighting game, as you can see, it just plays lovely, doesn't it? Really something. So I'm hoping that the new RG351M is going to be able to handle PlayStation 1 games properly. So we'll be able to play something a bit more beefy, like, say, God of War or, say, Grand Theft Auto, Liberty City Stories. That would be cool to be able to play those on this screen. Although I still think the screen itself is a little bit small, and I think we deserve something slightly bigger on the next model. This is a PlayStation 1, and this is a system that plays beautifully on the RG351, and this is one of my absolute favourites that I only discovered a few years back. It's from the makers of Metal Slug, but it was before they did the Metal Slug games. It's called In the Hunt, and it's just great, and you can sort of recognise the cartoony style of graphics on it with the Metal Slug games. It's really good, this. Yeah, so yeah, PlayStation 1, absolute dream on this device. But yeah, with the new one, I think N64, Dreamcast and PlayStation portable games need to all be running much, much better, and that's only going to come with better processors. So I'm sure our Anbernic have heard the message, and they know exactly what fans are expecting, and they're just going to have to pull their finger out. There's a lot of competition out there, and I've got a lot of love for Anbernic, so I really want them to produce something which is really high quality and blow the market away again. That's what I'm hoping. The Switch deck is around the corner. Admittedly, now it's not going to be until, at the very earliest, probably mid-March, April next year. But that's going to be some serious competition for Handheld, and that's going to be able to emulate everything up to the Switch. So they're going to need to really come up with something good. So this last game we're looking at here is a PSP game, and one that plays surprisingly well, and that's Ridge Racer. It was a very early on. In fact, it was a launch game for the PlayStation Portable, because I had this one at launch. I imported a Japanese edition of the console, and this is the game that came with it, and I just played it to death. I absolutely loved it. Couldn't believe the speed on it. Still, to this day, I do enjoy this one, but Outrun is still my favourite. I'd say if you're on the fence about buying an RG351, the prices have come right down now, and there's various models, and I always recommend a company called Droix. They're based in London, but they ship worldwide. They've been generous to give me a 5% off voucher, which you'll find in the description down below, and that more than covers your signed for next day delivery. So I shall look forward to seeing you again soon when the RG352 is released. I've been contacted by Anbernic, and I'm going to be getting an advanced version of it, so I'll be sure to share my unboxing and first opinions with you as soon as that one arrives. If you've enjoyed today's video, do please give it the thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing for regular vintage gaming content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.